The first thing they say is you check whether your mic is working or not. And the second thing, you see whether the audience is asleep or not. You guys awake, right? Yes. Yeah? All right, lovely. So I have to say that I anchor shows that go on national TV, but I'm still very nervous when I stand here. Because it reminds me of the day when I joined Dalmia way back in 2010. It's nearly more than 15 years, and I see myself in all of you guys. I see myself and my friends in all of you guys. 15, 16 years later, many things have changed. Many things still remain the same. But one thing that's remained constant is the presence of Mr. Shailesh Dalmia out here. And he's been looking the same, I must tell you, for the last 15 years or so. First up, both Neha and Stuti, thank you so much for the kind introduction that you've given for me. I'll try and live up to all the things that you've said about me, which I'm not too sure are, the truth. Part of it is exaggerated as well. We have incredible people out here. I was a little humbled and embarrassed as well because there were 3 doctors and I'm sitting right in the middle of all of them. Why I felt that I should be sitting there. Having said all of this, I got to tell you a few things. When I look back, some of the most important moments in your life, you don't realize they're very important. You only realize them in hindsight. Because you're so full of living that moment that you don't remember how important that moment is. The first day of B school is definitely one of those moments. I'll tell you why. Because from here on, this can actually be one of those moments where you think that, okay, it's an inflection point in my life. This could be one of those. And I'm not saying this will be one of those. The reason I'm saying this could be one of those is because this course is what you make of it. And since it's the season, let me talk about the rains. When it rains a lot, it rains equally for everyone, right? What it does to you depends on how big your size of the collection vessel is. If I'm standing in 300 mm rain with a small katora, I get this much. I can't blame the rain for not giving me so much. I'll have to ensure that I have the biggest tank to collect the most amount of water that I get from that rain. And B school is nothing else but that. Professor Bhatt did speak about, thinking of it as a ticket to your first job. I would liken that to standing under the rain with just a little bowl. This is not a ticket to your first job. The reason for that is because you can get your first job from the B school. You can get your first purchase with a great marketing campaign. I track the consumer space, she said. You can get your first purchase by a blitz of performance marketing, quick commerce, all these things that you do. You can get the best brand ambassador. You can get your first question by deploying any of these AI models that you're doing. But when you're on live TV, your first question is your preparation. The second question is your own knowledge, right? So the first job is just a milestone, like he said. But the second job is about your capability. The first purchase can happen through advertising, but the second and repeated purchases will only happen through the quality of the product. And that's what the B School program is like. Everyone's saying it. He alluded to the social media clip that went viral about B schools being stupid. I would suggest that choose wisdom over virality. Choose processes over hustle. Everyone, because it's the season and it's the cycle, is finding a lot of joy in creating startups, a lot of joy in making 100 crore ARRs, a lot of joy in getting the first funding, getting the first check. Can I give you some data? Only 2% of the startups cross 500 crores in sales. Hustle is great, but it does not scale. Jugaad is amazing, but process is scale. And we're here for scale. So the most important thing you got to do here when you're in MBA, you're not going to emerge on your graduation day as finance wizards or marketing wizards or any of those things. But you know what? The one thing that MBA teaches you is how to learn. And if you can learn how to learn, you are sorted for your life. Because Alvin Toffler, I memorized this name right now, he was an American futurist. I just memorized his name, but I remembered what he had said. He had said that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be someone who can't read or write, but the illiterate of the 21st century will be the person who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. So those are factors that you gotta remember. And for me personally, having been here, I can tell you one thing. It is cross-functional learning that matters. Dalmia, being Dalmia, I have to recognize the stalwarts whose shoulders we're standing on. You know, I remember Professor Naveen Bhatia, Professor Subramaniam, and Professor P.L. Arya. May their souls rest in peace. Very, very, very instrumental in shaping the person I am today, learning all these things. But Dalmia has always had this perception of being a finance-focused college, quantitative finance. You know, you don't get into finance, you do marketing. You don't get into finance or marketing, you do HR. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Do not get into the dogma of finance is good or marketing is not good or HR is not good or this is better than that. I can tell you with experience at my behest, when I started out, I thought maybe finance and marketing is what companies thrive on. But as age came by, it may not look on me, but I can tell you, you know, as you scale, you realize that companies that really create value are the ones that have the strongest systems, strongest operations, and also the strongest HR principles. So do not look down upon anyone or do not look upon anyone else as any better or not. If the human body is a company, I can tell you, finance is its brain and backbone, marketing is its face, but operations and human resources are the soul, blood, and also, you know, the heart of the company. You can't have just the strongest brain and a great face without a heart. That's a lifeless body. So focus on all these things. The other thing, just learn from every damn thing that you get in college. There are 300 people in this batch. 30% come from outside of Mumbai. You get to interact with them over 600 days. Learn one thing from your your batchmates. By the end of this program, you're 300 skills richer. That's bigger than any other program that you get. And I remember some of the best friends that I have today are the ones that I've made somewhere in these corridors itself. So you got to learn from all these people. The second thing that you do is you just keep learning without figuring out where it will take me. I'll give you an example. I graduated in advertising, I graduated in marketing, and thereafter curiosity led me to do my CFA, MBA, whatever happened. One thing that I hadn't ever learnt in my life was the engineering side of things or even, operations management. But I remember very, very clearly, vividly, about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, my first operations management class, I was late by 1 minute. I went to Professor Pai. He said, Mangalam, you're late by 1 minute. I said, sir, it's just 1 minute. Professor Pai that time told me that I worked for Hero Motocorp. Hero Motocorp on its assembly line made one bike every 15 seconds. So you've lost me 4 bikes. And each bike would give me a gross margin of 15,000 rupees. So it's not just 1 minute, it's 60,000 rupees. That stuck in my head and I became a stickler for punctuality. It may or may not have helped then, but I tell you what, when I got to CNBC TV 18, a 9:15 show cannot go at 9:16. That's what it does to you. You respect time, you learn from whatever comes your way. More importantly, everyone's speaking about artificial intelligence and that being a threat to people. That's not a threat. The bigger threat is natural stupidity. You can embrace AI, but do not please lose native intelligence. You can use it, master it, but do not let AI make you its servant. If I can go and put something on ChatGPT and that becomes the only thing that I do, then I'm not using my native intelligence. To say it in a very crude way, kabhi apna bhi dimag laga lo. Simple as that. Because so long as you're doing it, you will have an edge over any technology. And here, I'm not here to give you any sort of gyan. What I'll do is, because of my unique position of being equidistant, both literally and metaphorically to this side and this side, I can give you some life hacks. And these are hacks that will help you find your edge. And out here, all you got to do is find your edge, right? And they're not going to be any major life-changing hacks. These are things that I've done myself, and I continue to do so myself. So if it's okay, you guys can take some of it. The first one is read. Read, read, read. I understand we're in this age of 15-second reels, everything that is online, everything is on your phones and all of that and stuff. Develop the patience to read. If you can read an entire book, you are better than 90% of the people. If you can read 2, you're better than 94% of the people. If you can read 3, you're better than 97% of the people. So the payoff is incredible. The college has an incredibly resourceful library. You'll ask me, what should I read, Mangalam? I'll tell you, read anything that you want to. Because finance books will give you enough knowledge to speak at forums like this and sound intelligent. But whatever you read outside of finance is what will actually give you the edge to become intelligent. You don't just want to sound intelligent, you want to be intelligent. I can give you 100 Warren Buffett quotes, but if I'm not following them myself, what's the point, right? So read what you like until you like to read. You can call Dalmia's geographic location as an impediment. I thought of it as an opportunity. It would take me about 1 hour on each side of travel. While coming in the morning, I would pick up the Economic Times, just read. While going back, I would pick up one of the books in the library, whatever I liked, and I read. I can tell you one thing, I read enough from my academic books, but a lot of the stuff that gave me an edge was reading beyond the academics as well. That creates interest, that will just make you a fuller person. So please, please, please make full use of the library. The second thing you do is be curious. I mean, the world is full of noises. The only way you navigate the noise around the world and cultivate your own edge is when you follow your inner Google Maps. And your inner Google Map is nothing but your own curiosity. If you're not curious about how a certain thing works, then what's the point? I'll give you a simple example of how curiosity works. If you just thought of, okay, this mic, why is this mic a certain way? How much does it cost? Who are the people who are making these mics? Can there be a way to reduce those the cost of the mic? I'm just thinking aloud right now. And it's suddenly giving me 5, 6, 8 different ideas. Is there a listed company that makes these mics? When you're curious, you will ask questions. When you're asking questions, you will look for answers. When you're looking for answers, you'll get the answers before everyone else. And once you do that, you will identify trends before everyone else. And believe you me, you got to just capture 1 or 2 mega trends in your life to make the difference between success and failure. Curiosity is very, very important. If you're not curious, you're not alive. And I guess one of the biggest reasons why, all the professors and all these guys look the way they do. Professors never seem to age because they're always learning and they're always curious. That's a hack. If you want to look young your entire life, just stay curious. And that's not a beauty hack that I'm giving. The third one is fitness. Learn a sport, play a sport, be focused on fitness. Why do I say that? Because you have 99 problems in your life until you have a health problem. Once you have a health problem, that becomes your only problem in life. Don't do that. Focus on fitness because the 21st century and beyond, your energy is going to be your currency. If I can do whatever my body wants me to do without thinking about whether I'll get tired, whether I'll be able to walk, whether I'll be able to do this or not, then I'm basically giving myself the opportunity to do as much as I can over a longer period of time, which over time compounds. You all will learn the power of compounding here. Everything compounds, not just returns. You learn today, it compounds over 10 years. You're fit today, it compounds over 10 years. And those 10 years will be the difference between who took care of themselves and who didn't take care of themselves. So you got to be fit in some way or the other. I'm not saying you go out and immediately, sign up for high rocks and all of that and stuff. But at least be basic fit. We spoke about Warren Buffett. I'll give you an anecdote. Warren Buffett, he stood in a class in University of Columbia, and he asked the students, if I was to buy all you guys your dream cars, which one would those cars be? Everyone raised their hand. Someone said a Mercedes, someone said a McLaren, someone said a Ferrari. Everyone said whatever they wanted to. Then Warren Buffett came up with a condition. He said, my condition is that's the only car that you will be driving your entire life. Suddenly all these answers changed. To what? To Volvos, to Toyotas, to all of those. Why is that? Because when you want something to last long, you want it to be sturdy. And your body is the one car that you will be driving your entire life. Ensure that it is in prime condition. The other thing that fitness and sport do is they teach you how to lose without being a loser. Sport is nothing but voluntary submission to arbitrary constraints. Why do I call it arbitrary constraints? You're playing badminton. It's one of the most arbitrary sports in the world. Two people across the net hitting shuttlecocks and then trying to make an arbitrary line and deciding who's won, who's not, right? But you're voluntarily submitting to that. When you're voluntarily submitting to arbitrary constraints, you are involuntarily learning how to live with any constraints in life. So when you're preparing for real world problems, you will have an athlete mindset. And in the new age, you need an athlete mindset. The athlete mindset is basically very confident in approach, but bloody humble in processes and preparation. You watch Virat Kohli on the ground, looks arrogant, brash, confident. You know why? Because he's worked very, very hard when he was outside of the ground. So be an athlete. The third thing you do is embrace or enjoy some form of art, creativity. The 21st century, when ChatGPT and Claude and all the artificial intelligence will bring you science from everywhere else, art is what will shape the world. Science makes the world, art shapes the world. And once you focus on art, some form of art, it could be music, it could be cinema, it could be paintings, it could be poetry, it could be literature, you will understand taste. And once you cultivate what makes a certain thing good or bad, the taste will make you a differentiator from what's good or what's bad. And once you keep doing all these things over a period of time, they compound. And you become a person who will be known to have a certain sense of what the consumer is doing, what the consumer wants, what the people want, what the room wants. Many, many, many people just can't read the room. Cultivate taste. Watch people perform to know what works, what doesn't work. And finally, most importantly, learn how to get bored. Life's going to be very, very, very boring. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to motivate you. Everyone says that, necessity is the mother of invention. No one was curious enough to ask who's the father. Right? The father of invention is actually boredom. Because if you have a necessity but you don't have the time to think, then you can't think of solutions. In this hyper active world where there is so many sensory overloads at every point in time, the power of boring is just brilliant, and it is very, very, very understated. We go back to the athlete mindset. Last year, if I was speaking, I would speak about Rohit Sharma, I would speak about Virat Kohli. But this year, just as I was speaking, I looked up some numbers of Vaibhav Suryavanshi. Exciting player, right? Excitement is an exception, boredom is the norm. You all would agree that no one more exciting than Vaibhav Suryavanshi has hit the T20 world in the last few years? Can I hear a yes? Yes. Or a no? Whatever it works. Yeah? I just want to make sure that you guys are all awake. So, I was looking at some data. Vaibhav Suryavanshi so far has faced 685 balls in his T20 career. Guess how many sixes he's hit? 138. Great, right? It's great by a mile as compared to someone else. You guys can look at that, be very happy with that. But you know what I look at? That he has had to wait for 5 balls before hitting a 6. So he did nothing for 5 balls, that also. He hit 116 fours in 685 balls that he played. So he's obviously hit less fours than 6s. So he's had to do nothing for 4 balls or 5 balls before he hit a 4 or a 6. You club both of them. Consider a boundary ball as an exciting ball. He still had to wait for 3 balls before he hit a boundary. So 66% of his playing time was just nudging along. You guys have to keep nudging along. The one thing that will make you edgy over everyone else is you have to love the nudging along. Everyone, 99% of their lives will be boring. You just have to start falling in love with that boring. Because if it's boring to you, it's boring to everyone else, people will slowly bow out. But if it's interesting to you, then those who are bored will get out. And that's what over a period of time will cultivate your edge. Right? So that's, I guess, pretty much that I have to say. Apart from the fact that, trust you me, I have come here for the induction program, but I will be checking on your progress over the next 2 years periodically by calling all these people. And if they're kind enough to call me on the convocation, before that, I would like to meet all of you all to check on the progress as well. So if there's a little bit of a difference that I can make through these hacks, and I see that you guys have, immersed yourself into this ecosystem, then it'll be great. Why do I say that? Because, it's a privilege that you guys are getting this opportunity to learn. This ecosystem is very, very resourceful, and this environment is very conducive. You're getting 2 whole years of your life committed to learning through and through. And you have the fortune of age by your side as well. So after this, if you all do not succeed, then it's a you problem. That's all I'll say. Thank you.